Okay, we're back. And just like that, we have two shock bodies ready to accept the shock oil, or damper oil as they call it. Okay, so it is telling us, a lot of dampers get built differently. The dampers we struggled with the most would have had to have been the SRB. The What's that thing called? The Rough Rider and the Sand Scorcher. We struggle with them. We had to do them a few times. This one seems quite simple. The piston has to be all the way down in the cylinder. You fill up the cylinder. You get out all the air bubbles. You put the little rubber cap on top, the oil seal, and then the actual mounting thing, and the cap itself. So these should be really straightforward. So we're just gonna fill up. You've got to be careful not to over squeeze the bottle because you're going to introduce air bubbles. It's not even telling you to move the, oh yes it is. It's telling you to move the shaft up and down. This will, because since the shaft was always down, was all the way down to the bottom, there will be an air pocket under there. So now we need to move the piston up and down slowly. If you move too fast, you'll just create more air bubbles. As the piston's moving down, you're probably not going to be able to see this. If there's no air bubbles rising up from the bottom, then you're pretty well good to go. But there are still air bubbles inside the cylinder. So we are just going to find something to sit that in, which our tool set here from Tamiya will do just nice. It's not quite perfect, but that can sit there while I do the other one. Now we're actually going to let both of these shocks sit as they are. I'll just top up that one a little bit. Right, I'll move this piston up and down a little bit. Not quite all the way up. Good chance you're going to push out your oil. I can't see any air bubbles coming out there at all. Not from the bottom anyway. Okay, so, but there's still air in the fluid. Now, I'm just going to let that sit for, 5-10 minutes. I'm not going to make you sit there and watch nothing for 5 or 10 minutes, so we'll be back after 5 or 10 minutes. Okay, so we're back. Now, I'm just going to get a little bit of paper towel here, wrap it around the shop, because when you put these bladders or seals in the top, you do lose some of this oil. It gets a bit messy, so slip that on there like that. Now this mount piece actually goes inside the screw cap like this, and that simply just screws all the way down. And actually didn't get a lot of spillage at all that time, so that's nice. And that feels really, really, really nice. I really, really like these shocks. They're so simple, but they work so well. So we're just going to do that with the other one. I can probably even put a little bit more oil in that one. You can probably even take the lid off first. Seems to make it easier for the oil to come out when you take the lid off. So just a little bit more on there. I can't see any bubbles, so that's good. We'll get our bladder again. Okay, I got a little bit more spillage that time. A little bit of spillage is good because that tells you really got enough oil in the shock. Basically, too much oil means just enough, because you're going to lose the rest of it anyway when you screw everything down. So give this a bit of a wipe over. Get the oil off so I've got a bit of grip on the parts, because these are really smooth, beautifully machined aluminium parts. Tamiya just does really class work, I tell you. And that one feels just as good as the other one. So that's step 15. Step 16, we actually install the springs on the dampers and the collar and attach them to the car. So let's do that. So you can have that one back, mate. Now I can have the next bit. Thank you. Okay. We'll have one of our coil springs. We have one of our spring retainers. Now this has to sit in such a way that once it's on, it slips over that. It's basically a collar. There's a hole in there, and that slides down onto the shock mount. Now you do have to compress the spring a little bit to get that on there. That slides down, and there's your, wow, that's some tension there. Now one of those rear arms break a lot. That's one rear shock completed. Have a feel of that shock, mate. It feels really nice. Okay, there's your, they're still slippery with oil. There's our second one. Right, now they can be mounted onto the chassis. Might be worth noting at this point, I don't know if they're still available, but Ampro Engineering, this is when, what's that shop called they cancelled? Shapeways. Now apparently you can still buy stuff from them, but they've shut down, so I don't know how that works. But Ampro had 3D printed stainless parts that used to fit over these two bits here, which basically, what's the word? These arms didn't break anymore with these steel pieces on here. It'll be worth looking into something like that, because that is a real problem. If you're going to really run the cars hard, that can be a problem. So once again, I'm just going to get a little bit of grease into the screw holes. I'll do this on both sides while I'm here. Just wipe off any excess. It does it say? No, it doesn't. It doesn't actually say to grease up these step screws. And yeah, I probably wouldn't bother. There's that much play in there. I don't think it's going to hurt it at all. So we just, can you see from up there? Probably not. Let me bring you in a bit. No, that was out. Sorry, you're already in. Okay. Alright, make sure your screw's nice and straight. Now, since this is a moving assembly, you can pull this screw up tight straight away. You don't need to install both screws first and then tighten. That's your first screw. Second screw into the swing arm. Make sure everything's going to do what it's told. I'm actually going to put, oh, I'm using the wrong screwdriver, that's why it's so hard. Silly me. Yeah, that's one shock assembled and feeling very nice, very smooth. Next one. Man, we're getting to the point where we're almost finished this car. This is great. Flying along. It's probably been a couple of days for you guys, but it's been a few hours for us. No, I just put that in the wrong position. That's what I get for talking and not thinking about what I'm doing, eh? We can speed this up, please. Hey, it's both our rear shocks mounted, both feeling very nice, very smooth. And I'm really looking forward to seeing this car finished. Like I said, I've never actually owned a box art frog before. And that box there, mate. And to be honest, I've never actually seen a box art frog since, I'm going to have to say, mid to late 80s. Not in the flesh anyway, I've seen heaps on videos and stuff like that, obviously, but in person, I haven't seen one in a very, very long time. So this is doubly exciting for me. Right, time to fit the motor. Again, we can put our chassis aside. Using this massive. I mean, it's not big compared to some of the pinions you get for speedrun cars and stuff like that, but because it's a 0.8 module, not a 0.6, it just makes it look really, really big. I'm actually going to pause you again because I'm going to go to my little parts thing over here and find my thread lock. Okay, so I found the thread lock. We're ready to attach the pinion to the motor. I do not have a motor. Here we go. Nice to be organised. Brand new Tamiya sport tuned, genuine sport tuned motor. Be careful buying these online. If they seem cheap, it's because they are. I've never bought a cheap one myself, but I bought knockoffs of other things, and you learn your lesson pretty quick. So spend the money, get the proper ones. I don't know if we're doing the right thing by putting a sport tune in this poor little frog, but because the gearboxes aren't very strong, from what I've heard anyway. Although, like I say, pretty sure I had a dirt tuned in my frog years ago, and I never broke anything. So our motor plate, this actually serves a few purposes. It's basically a gasket between two metal surfaces, but they also use them on the cars with plastic gearboxes. They act as a bit of a heat shield between the motor and the gearbox, but they also act as a dust shield. All these holes in the motor, because being a brushed motor, it's open to the elements and all dust and all sorts of stuff, not to mention dust from the actual brushes as they wear down. This motor plate will stop all that gunk getting into the gearbox as it's running and possibly destroy your gears. So that's a few reasons why we install these. In case you didn't know, a bit of trivia for you. So we need our this size Allen key, and I'm actually going to thread lock. I have a toothpick here. I'm actually going to thread lock the grub screw into the pinion. I've started doing this a lot lately. I never used to do it back in the day, and again, I never really had any trouble. But no, it's better safe than sorry, isn't it? So our grub screw. I tend to just wind the screw into the pinion first. I'm just going to clean out some of that thread lock so I can see what I'm doing. On the grub screw in first, and you can slide it over the motor shaft, and you get to a point where it's loose, but you can still spin the shaft of the motor. That means the screw, the screw is lined up with the flat on the shaft. You don't want to tighten it up tight just yet, because we have to set the pinion depth, which is shown right here at 16.5 millimeters. So again, I'm going to get my vernier calipers out and set them at 16.5. I'm not going to go through and explain how to read vernier calipers. That might be something for another video, I don't know. 16.5, and I don't know if you can see, but if I can get it on the right angle, you might be able to. Where I tightened up I didn't actually tighten it, but it's not moving anywhere. There's actually a gap there between the pinion and the end of the rail on the verniers there. So we need to come out a little bit more with the pinion. You probably could do this in one go, but it means having probably 3 hands. So if we just slightly, looks like I'm not actually doing anything here. Okay, that moved it a bit. We pick that up. Okay, that's pretty well spot on. Now we can put some real torque on this grub screw. Don't be worried that you don't have the grub screw exactly lined up with the flat on the shaft. It will self-center. Alright, so that's your flat on your shaft, okay, imagine. And that's your grub screw coming down, and now the shaft is slightly turned, so your grub screw is on an angle. It's not going to come in and tighten up on that angle. As it tightens up, it's going to pull in straight with the shaft. Okay, so you don't have to get it exactly on the flat as you're tightening it up. It will center itself. All right, so that's our pinion installed onto our motor, and that brings us to the end of this video. Next video, we're going to install the motor, all the electronics, basically finish up the chassis, I think. So, thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already. Leave us a comment if you like. That'll be good. And we'll probably see you in a couple of days, but for us, it'll be a couple of minutes. Bye.